First, I want to thank Barbara for the invitation to speak with you in Winnipeg, and I'm sorry I can't be there in person. As you know, I am passionate about stopping human trafficking, and I'm fighting this fight alongside of you. If you told folks in North Dakota and Manitoba 10 years ago that they would be on the front lines combating human trafficking, no one would have believed you. But all of you are in Winnipeg today because you know this horrible crime spares no state, no province, and no community. This is no longer something you can only see in foreign countries or in big cities. It's right here in our backyards. This was not an issue that was even on my radar when I served as Attorney General in the state of North Dakota in the 1990s. But as I traveled the state in 2012, before joining the Senate, I kept hearing about prostitution. All my law enforcement folks that I had worked with for years kept talking about this huge increase in prostitution. And the more I asked, the more I began to realize that what communities thought was prostitution was something much worse. Traffickers have become sophisticated predators and sellers of their commodity. They use social media, stake out our schools as well as our homeless and domestic violence shelters. They look for those who are vulnerable and use those vulnerabilities to bring those young people, a lot of them young women of color, in and make promises they will never keep. We didn't react as fast as we should have to this horrible problem, and we lost too many women and girls to modern-day slave traders. But those days are over. Public officials, law enforcement, healthcare workers, teachers, and NGOs have all woken up to how widespread this issue is. When I got to the Senate, I knew that tackling the human trafficking epidemic in the United States and across the globe was a cause that I needed to take up and lead on. Since then, I've held hearings on the issue in the Homeland Security Committee and have brought high-ranking officials and advocates to North Dakota. Legislatively, I've worked to strengthen our laws and to provide the resources for law enforcement to go after and prosecute these traffickers. Though I'm working on this issue comprehensively, combating human trafficking in Indian country became a key focus for me early on. Just like in the United States, Canada knows all too well that members of their First Nations are among the most vulnerable and the most susceptible to trafficking. Canada's Indigenous population is just 4% of the total population, but more than 50% of the sex trafficking victims. Think about that. Don't forget that stark reality. Don't forget that so many who are being sold, raped, and abused are Indian and First Nation women and children. But I'm encouraged to see what's happening here today. I often say that in North Dakota, we don't really see a border with Canada. We always feel a kinship with our neighbors to the north, and this meeting shows that that relationship is alive and well and quite honestly at its best. I want to thank all of you today for being here to work for real solutions. The discussions you will have will hopefully result in actions that will save lives. And again, I wish you the best. Hope you have a productive meeting and look forward to working with you to stop human trafficking and stop human slavery in our lifetime. Thank you again.